17-year-old Nick D'Alazio is extremely wealthy. In fact, he just made $30 million off of selling his smartphone app to Yahoo. So he basically created this app that takes news articles and it just summarizes it. Apparently he was in school, he was studying, and he was tired of Googling things and having to read these entire articles.
Oh, golly, gee, I mean, I wouldn't want you to hurt your head like that. Yeah, let's just dumb it down for everybody.
All right, so Cenk is super bitter about this guy, and you'll find out in a second. So, he was interviewed and he was asked, what kind of advice would you give to entrepreneurs or people who want to become entrepreneurs? And here's what he had to say. If you have a good idea or think there's a gap in the market, just go out and launch it, because there are investors across the world right now looking for companies to invest in.
Yeah. No, I love that advice. If you're a kid in the Bronx or in Logan, West Virginia, you're 17 years old, why don't you just launch an internet company? Just do it. What's the big deal? Just launch it.
So his initial investors included Yoko Ono and also Rupert Murdoch. So he definitely had the money necessary to start this app, to launch this app. Also, he comes from a pretty wealthy background. He lives in Wimbledon. Yeah, Wimbledon.
Interesting. Yeah. Let me go further here. He originally got $250,000 from Horizon Ventures, which is a venture capital firm owned by Hong Kong billionaire Li Ka-shing, which is awesome. Ka-shing. Okay. Okay. And then these are the people who jumped into his company: Hollywood actor Ashton Kutcher, British broadcaster Stephen Fry, Yoko Ono, News Corp media mogul Rupert Murdoch, as you mentioned, Anna. So yeah, why don't you just go do that? If you're just a 17-year-old, why don't you just start a company and have all these incredibly wealthy people give you a lot of money to start this company? It's not easy. Why didn't you think of that?
So we know the facts of the case, and the question is, guilty or not guilty?
Drop it. Now, the issue at hand is this guy a smug little... Okay. All right.
Unbearable.
Okay. And by the way, to be fair to him, he doesn't pocket the whole $30 million. He's a majority stakeholder, which means he gets at least $15 million, probably around $20 million. Ashton Kutcher and the rest divvy up the things. And he sold it to Yahoo. And look, of course, in a lot of ways, bless his heart, right? I mean, you did a nice app. Apparently, they thought it was worth a lot of money, etc. The only thing that grates on my nerve is the quote, which, by the way, is also unfair. I get that. Because all he's saying is, look, man, there's good market opportunities. Go for it. I think what it is that he's 17 years old, and I don't think that he's had a bad day in his life. Okay, I know, I don't know the kid, etc. But it seems like, oh, why doesn't everybody become incredibly rich?
All right, just make your ruling already. It's not like we're trying to make a ruling on gay marriage. Like, let's go.
You get the sense I'm leaning towards guilty? No, I want to hear everybody out. I'm the most reasonable man in America.
No, I don't want
guilty
that
or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Not
and
guilty.
The reason why I say not guilty, and I know Cenk says, well, look, of course he has this tremendous opportunity. He obviously comes from a well-to-do background, and he has all of these investors that are willing to help him launch this project. That's all fair. But the one thing that grates on my nerves is when you have someone who has the opportunity and they put it to waste. Another thing to take into consideration is that he taught himself coding at the age of 12. Okay, so he was intellectually curious, he was a self-starter. I like that he took the initiative and he did this. And his quote doesn't grate on my nerves. He's a 17-year-old and he's trying to be inspirational, and this is his, semi-mediocre attempt at doing so. So yeah, not guilty.
I feel really inspired. All right, Jared Jackson.
He's a 17-year-old.
All right, Justice Kasparian, we've heard you out. Justice Jackson.
I'd say he's not guilty of being like an asshole, like he's out to get someone. I would have to put him in that realm if I'm going to call him a negative term like that. He's clueless. Mm-hmm. I mean, he doesn't understand what else it took. So I think the irresponsible part is the way people are reporting it and saying, oh, what a great, into the feel-good story. They want to give it a feel-good story, so they miss maybe the next part of it and saying, you can get out and do anything. It's an encouraging story. But let's just make sure we continue to say the whole story. But you have to have this, and this, or it's easier if you have this, and this. People really have done it from having nothing, but they had to do a lot more.
So, Justice Jackson, I agree with you. If he just said in the beginning, you have to understand, I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, who gets money thrown at them by Rupert Murdoch and Ashton Kutcher, right? Then I feel no problem with this guy. But I hear you, but you're ultimately voting not guilty. Yeah. All right, is he not merciful? Chief Justice, how do you rule? I know you want to rule guilty.
I do want to rule guilty, but what Anna says as far as like he was intellectually curious, at the end of the day he did have the idea, so.
You almost swung JR to vote against it with that argument.
Down with intellectual curiosity.
All right, so you're voting not guilty too. What has happened to the TYT Supreme Court? We've gone soft.
Because he hasn't done anything wrong. That's why we're voting not guilty.
All
This
right.
is all about Jake being super bitter about a 17-year-old being a multi-millionaire.
Are you ready for this? Better man. Are you ready for this? I'm going to shock the world. Not guilty. We're unanimous. Of course he's not guilty. He's a good kid. He worked hard. He's a smart kid. He just had a lot of breaks. And,
You know what? You swung me. Guilty. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, bless his heart. You know, if he was my son, I'd be incredibly proud, etc. Just all JR and I are saying is understand that not everybody else has the same chances. So, and he's got a long life ahead of him, and I'm sure he's a bright kid. I hope he does get that, and hope to to help others to be able to do the same things that you did.
And even though he's fabulously wealthy at the age of 17, he's continuing his education, he's majoring in humanities, and he said the following, to give you a little insight into what his personality is like. He says, I like playing sports, I'm a bit of a design enthusiast, and like spending time with my girlfriend and mates.
Back to guilty.
Yeah.
No, because we added the S there. He's British, so there's nothing wrong with this. But again, needlessly, I like playing sport.
You're the worst.
I'm a bit of a design enthusiast, really, and I like spending time with my girlfriend and mates. How do you? I've been studying humanities since I already have $20 million. Well, bless your heart.